How's it going? This is Hoiman, and today we're taking a look at the S.H.Figuarts Sora figure. So the box has a nice premium feel to it, has a nice soft and textury feel to it. And then the images themselves are kind of embossed as well, so overall it does feel very premium. And although you do have a window to see the figure inside, I think it would be nice if it was a bit bigger, so you can see a bit more, because it's very small as it is, but I guess in the end it still works. Moving to the top, you can see a bit more into the figure. And then on this side, you have a picture of the figure. And then on the other side, it's just the name. Legal stuff on the bottom, as well as a picture. And in the back, you have more pictures of the figure and some legal stuff as well. And then to open a box, just lift open the side flap. And then lift open the front cover. And there's the figure all together with his accessories. So first you do get some instructions showing what the figure comes with and how to operate the accessories. So here's the actual figure itself, and although Sora has quite a complex character design, I feel that Figuarts did a good job of making him into a Figuarts figure. All the detail you'd expect is all present on the figure, and for the most part all the paintwork is very nice and clean as well. So looking closer at the face, I feel that they have captured the likeness of the character really well. And then the eyes are really nicely painted on as well. And then you move on to the hair, which is really nicely sculpted. It has a lot of detail in there, but I don't know why, but for some reason it just looks a bit off to me. Like just looking at the head sculpt of the character, it looks like the character, but something just looks off. Like I don't know if it's because there's just too many spikes on his hair, or if his hair is sculpted differently, or I don't know what's going on, but I don't know, it just looks a bit off to how I usually see Sora. But despite that, the hair is still really nicely sculpted. There's a lot of nice texturing and strands of the hair in between the spikes. And then there's like a really light shading of darker areas in between the strands as well. So overall, although the hair looks a bit off to me, it's still really nicely sculpted and detailed. And then down to his outfit, again really nicely sculpted. You have all the zips and the pouches and belts, and overall all the detail is just very nice and clean. Really nicely sculpted, and then the paintwork for the most part is very clean. There are some sloppy areas, mostly in the white areas, that they're just not painted on as bold, or they kind of bleed into other parts here and there. So the whites are a bit sloppy, but other than that, the paintwork overall is really nicely done. So you have his necklace, which I think would have been cool if it was an actual chain, but of course that would be more delicate and it would add to the cost, so I suppose just having it sculpted just works just as well. And then the jacket is really nicely sculpted, has a lot of nice flowing and movement to it. And there's very little shading going on, so it's mainly just a matte black. And then you have the inner coat, which is a nice blue with the red pouches, nicely sculpted for the most part. The sleeves are nice and bold. And then the gloves, again, nicely sculpted and detailed. And then you move down to the legs, very baggy shorts. Again, really nicely sculpted. And you have all the belts, again, just very nicely sculpted and very clean for the most part. And then down to his shoes, really nice and bold. Paintwork is very clean for the most part, and then even the soles are really nicely sculpted as well. So for articulation, the neck is on a double ball joint, so he can look down about that much, which is quite a bit. He can look up about that much, not really a whole lot since the hair hits against his hood. But he can tilt his head side to side as well as twist. Moving down to the shoulders, it's on a ball joint, so you can move his arm about however you like. And although the hood is actually a really solid piece, it doesn't really restrict the arm too much, so you can still bring his arm out to the side, bring his arm forward, and then bring his arm back as well. And then he does have the bicep swivel in the shoulder. And then he's also got a ball joint where the arm connects to the sleeve. So you can also move his arm about however you like. And then you also get the bicep swivel there as well. And then he's got the single jointed elbow. And then he's got ball jointed wrist. And then the ball joints on this figure are very thick for the most part, so they shouldn't break easily on you. So that's a nice change. The torso is on a single ball joint, and the jacket and the inner part of his coat is a separate piece, so it doesn't really restrict too much articulation. And the coat, although it's a solid piece, it's slightly flexible, so you can still bend forward about that much. And then he can bend backwards that much. He can lean side to side as well as twist. Moving down to the hips, this belt here, the yellow and the blue, is a floating piece. So it doesn't really restrict too much of the articulation, and they are somewhat softer as well, but for the most part they're still solid, but it doesn't really restrict the leg articulation too much. So the waist is on a ball joint, so you can move his legs about however you like and also twist. And then each leg is on a ball joint, but they have the pull down method. So you can pull his leg down, and then that allows for more range, so you can kick forward about that much. And what I do like about this is that the red pouch is on a ball joint, so you can adjust it to kind of fix the break in the sculpt when you move his legs. And then he can kick back that much, but again you can fix the pouch, then kick about that far to the side, and then the pouch does start to hit against the torso, but it's nothing really too major. And then he does have the thigh swivel built in as well, and then he's got single jointed knees, which is a nice design. I do like the fact that this part is sculpted, but it tucks in when you bend the leg, so it's really nice design there. One of my gripes is that the knee joint itself is black instead of skin color, so it does kind of break the kind of sculpt a little bit in terms of the colors, but it's nothing too major. And then the ankle, it's on a ball joint, so you can move his foot about however you like, and because the shoe is sculpted very widely, it's not really too restricted. And then there's a cut here in the boot as well, so you can rotate the foot however you like. And then he's got the hinge in the toe, so you can bring them up like so. So despite his complicated design, Sora still has all the articulation you'd expect a Figuarts figure to have. And because of clever engineering like the pouches to fix the sculpt, the floating belt, and then a nice design in the ankles, you can pretty much get all the poses that you want this figure to do. But that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. For faces, he comes with a default smiling face, and then he comes with a shouting face, and unfortunately with mine, I did come with 2 shouting faces. He's supposed to come with just like a natural staring face, but unfortunately for mine, I did get 2 of the same faces. But even despite that, the natural face is very similar to this face, so it's really not much of a difference. For hands, he comes with a pair of fists, 2 open palmed hands, 2 hands to hold as weapon, and then these 2 hands to hold as weapons together. And then they can clip on with this peg here. So it's quite nice that they incorporated this kind of hand. And then finally he comes with his keyblade, which is really nicely sculpted and detailed. Nice use of metallic gold and silver and the blue. And then you have an actual chain as well. And it feels very solid as well, so it shouldn't break on you easily. So my final thoughts are, overall this is a really solid figure. Captures the lightness of the character really well, and despite his complicated design, I feel that Bandai did a really good job of incorporating him into a Figuarts, and due to clever engineering managed to make his joints work really well. But I do have minor gripes, such as I mentioned, there's just something about the head sculpt that kind of throws me off from how Sora usually looks. But despite that, it's still really nicely sculpted. And the fact that he came with 2 shouting face shows that there is still some QC issues going on in packaging. But even then, I feel that his natural face and the staring face are very similar. So I think it would have been nice if he came with a face with his eyes closed instead, since that's quite a prominent expression he makes in the games. But other than that, the sculpt is really nice and the paintwork is very clean for the most part, except for some sloppy areas in the white, but again, they're not super noticeable, and for the most part, this is just a really nice and solid looking figure. And if you're a fan of this character or the games, then I can recommend this figure. But despite him being a regular release, I have seen his prices go up quite a bit since his release. So if you do plan on getting this figure, I recommend getting him earlier than later. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.